The girl was shocked to find that the client she was about to receive was her own biological father, but her father didn't recognize her. However, Angel still led her father into the room, for she could never forget the moment when her father had cruelly abandoned her, and this was the only way she had left to take revenge. When her father learned the truth, a mix of profound shame and moral condemnation overwhelmed his heart. He resolutely picked up a pistol and ended his own life. At that moment, Angel's face was blank, showing no trace of emotion, but the coldness and emptiness wandering in her heart weighed so heavily that she could barely breathe. All the causes traced back to the evil seeds her father had sown in his early years. Angel was just one of his many illegitimate children. She and her mother were trapped in a remote manor on the outskirts. It wasn't until Angel was 8 years old that she saw her father's true face for the first time, yet her father didn't give her the warmth and affection she longed for. Instead, he showed complete coldness and alienation. Before long, her father, without hesitation, drove the mother and daughter out of the house to protect his own reputation. With no source of income, even selling all their belongings couldn't secure them a stable place to stay. To make a living, her mother had no choice but to take up the job she hated the most. Perhaps it was a cruel trick of fate. Her mother fell ill not long after. Angel cried by her mother's bedside every day, praying to heaven to make her mother recover soon, but her prayers received no response. Her mother still closed her eyes slowly amid Angel's calls. From then on, Angel became an orphan with no one to rely on, but her suffering was far from over. Not long after her mother's death, she was bought by a cold-hearted duke. At a young age, she had already witnessed the ugliness and injustice of society. Even though her appearance seemed extremely strong, her heart was already filled with helplessness and loneliness. When she grew up, she had stunning beauty. However, the cruelty of fate reduced her to a tool for nobles to indulge their desires. On this day, she unexpectedly met her biological father again, the one who had abandoned her and her mother. After all these years, anger and pain surged in her heart like a tide. Her father couldn't help but praise Angel's beauty when he saw her. Faced with her father's praise, Angel only hid all the storms in her heart behind a calm smile. After the man committed suicide, Angel took the opportunity to escape from the Duke's mansion and boarded a cargo ship bound for California. She hoped to leave this sorrowful hometown and start a new life, but her tragic life continued. As soon as she got off the ship, she was beaten to the ground by 2 women, and all her money was robbed. When she woke up, Angel was sold to a tavern again. She tried to resist, eager to break free from the heavy chains, but all she got was a vicious beating. Her soul was almost crushed by the secular world. Becoming cold and unfeeling, she went through the motions of her work every day without any warmth. Even during the weekly walk outside, the tavern keeper would send someone to monitor her. But unlike before, this day's walk would completely change Angel's life. Watching Angel's gradually receding figure, Michael's heart stirred with unprecedented emotions, as if the whole world had frozen at this moment. But his friend reminded him to sober up, saying that such a beautiful woman could be had for a night with money. These words shattered the tranquility. Even so, Michael still thought that this encounter was all God's arrangement. As an honest and hard-working farmer, he supported his family with his own hands every year. Life was not wealthy, but it was full of ordinary contentment. Every harvest season, Michael would go to the church, bow his head in prayer, and thank God for the fertile land and the fruits of his hard work. On the eve of his departure that day, he prayed to God to grant him a partner to share all these good things with. So he believed that this encounter with Angel was God's guidance. Not long after, Michael came to the tavern. When they first met, Angel thought this man was no different from other clients, but Michael said he wouldn't do anything to her. He just wanted to marry her. However, having experienced so many lies, Angel told Michael, "You're the 5th person to propose to me this week." Although Michael said he was sincere, Angel didn't believe him. She impatiently drove Michael out of the room. The next day, Michael came again. He still didn't make any further moves, just sat quietly and chatted with Angel, but Angel remained disdainful, thinking Michael was just wasting time and money. If he really wanted someone to talk to, other women might be more suitable. By the time Michael poured out all his true feelings, time had quietly slipped through his fingers. A knock on the door once again broke the ambiguous atmosphere in the room. Yet when Michael came again, he was stopped by a woman. It turned out that Angel had recommended Michael to other women. Michael thought Angel wasn't respecting his sincerity. Unable to contain his anger, Michael found Angel and questioned her why she was willing to stay in such a place, lingering with those dirty men every day. Right now, there was a chance to escape this illusory shadow, but looking into Michael's firm eyes, Angel felt no ripple in her heart. Angel said she didn't like Michael and thought that poor Michael couldn't give her a good life. Hearing this, Michael turned to leave, Complex emotions surged in Angel's heart. She had imagined countless times that she could live an ordinary and stable life like others, away from those suffocating constraints. But everything in front of her was like a shackle, deeply binding her heart. But she still plucked up the courage to find the tavern keeper. Thinking she had earned enough money to buy her freedom, she hoped the keeper would keep the promise and let her out of this endless cage. But Angel was the top prostitute in the tavern at this time. How could the keeper let her go easily? She immediately sent a guard to teach Angel a harsh lesson. That night, the room echoed with ruthless blows and Angel's wails. The helplessness and struggle intertwined into deep despair, which even woke Michael from his sleep. Perhaps it was fate's guidance. He came to the tavern again. What met his eyes was Angel, covered in bruises. Her painful appearance made Michael's heart ache like a knife. He was eager to take Angel away, so he handed over all the money he had to the keeper. Since Angel was seriously injured, the keeper didn't want to waste time on her, so she readily agreed to Michael's request. Before leaving, Michael affectionately took Angel's hand and couldn't help but ask the question he had hidden for a long time. Michael solemnly asked Angel if she was willing to marry him. His sincerity moved Angel, and she agreed. In this way, Angel went back to the farm with Michael. At dawn, Angel woke up from her sleep. What she saw was a strange yet warm environment. When she picked up the mirror beside her and looked at her scarred face, a pang of sadness welled up in her heart. At that moment, Michael walked in with chopped firewood. He couldn't wait to take out the ring left by his mother, which was full of love and commitment. However, Angel was unwilling to believe all this so-called true feelings. She just got up, wanting to leave here, but the soreness all over her body made it hard for her to take a step. She had to sit back on the bed with Michael's support. Angel said she didn't want to be a servant in a marriage. Michael told her that marriage was a beautiful thing. Michael left the ring and turned to leave. 2.5 weeks passed. Under Michael's careful care, Angel's injuries had completely healed, but the pain in her heart was hard to heal. Although Michael's care was as warm as spring, her heart could never open up to this tenderness. When Michael found the ring Angel had left, he quickly chased after her. At this time, Angel, who was leaving on foot, hadn't gone far when she noticed Michael behind her. Anger and anxiety almost made her lose her mind. She turned around and slapped Michael, but she had misunderstood him. He gently took down the coat he had prepared for her from the saddle, and at this moment, he put the choice in Angel's hands. One way is the tavern, 19 miles away. The other way is home, a mile downhill, with fire, food, and your husband. The choice is yours. With that, Michael turned around and left without looking back. Watching Michael's gradually blurry figure, an indescribable emotion surged in Angel's heart. The hidden passion made it hard for her to calm down for a long time. This was also the first time she had the right to choose her own fate. As the night grew thick, Angel dragged her tired body into this quiet haven. Michael didn't ask any questions when he saw her return. He just silently served the already prepared dinner. Angel ate with relish, and the exhaustion from a day of traveling melted away completely at this moment. Michael then brought a basin of hot water and personally washed her feet. Angel didn't resist at all this time. When Michael saw the blisters on her feet, his heart ached with pity. He carefully kneaded them. Watching Michael's meticulous care, Angel's heart was finally moved. The dawn knocked over the color palette, dyeing the world into a colorful painting. Beautiful days unfolded gently in this soft light and shadow. Michael often took Angel to collect eggs together. Trying it for the first time, she couldn't help but be flustered, and the funny scene made them immersed in the afterglow of the setting sun. Michael even took Angel to chop firewood with him. Such heavy work still stumped her for a moment. So, Michael then took her to wander through the simple fields. They would also go to the lake to play in the water, letting Angel experience fishing, something she'd never tried before. Every ordinary bit was filled with simple happiness and endless peace. As night fell, although they lived under the same roof, Michael still chose to sleep on the floor. Even though Angel invited him to get into bed, Michael declined directly, for he was always waiting for the moment when Angel would truly fall in love with him. But the impulse buried in his heart had already spread silently. So to calm himself down, Michael had to go winter swimming in the river. Angel watched the scene before her, and she could clearly feel the deep emotions flowing from Michael. Even though their relationship was as thin as a cicada's wing, on the verge of breaking, they still kept their distance in their own ways. And that night, the nightmare buried in her heart reached for Angel again. The Duke broke into the door in the middle of the night, approaching slowly, and Angel was once again swallowed by this familiar fear. But when she opened her eyes, she realized everything in front of her was just a dream. To soothe Angel's wounded heart, Michael urged her to get up, and then they went to the top of the beautiful mountains. In the ordinary years of the past, Michael had countless times longed to share all the beauty he owned with his beloved. As the sun spilled into their sight, Michael's eyes were filled with longing for a better future, but Angel didn't have the joy Michael had expected, for the cruel memories of the past always lingered around her. In that golden glow, they stood side by side. Although there were not many words, their hearts were already tightly connected. They had thought this beauty would last forever, but the appearance of a down-and-out man completely shattered this peaceful happiness. When Michael saw the man coming, he hugged him tightly, his face filled with long-lost joy and excitement. It turned out this was Michael's brother-in-law, Paul. After Michael's sister passed away, Paul went gold prospecting with the locals, but in the end, he didn't find much gold, and his savings were already exhausted. When he learned that Michael was already married, Paul was very happy and followed Michael's steps, eager to walk into the house to see his sister-in-law's face. However, Paul recognized Angel at a glance, because Angel was a famous top prostitute in the area. Countless workers had worked hard every day just to spend a night with Angel when night fell, but Paul didn't expose her on the spot. Instead, he waited until Michael left, then insulted Angel without scruple, and said that Michael deserved a better partner. Even though Angel explained the reason, Paul still refused to let it go. He left harsh words and turned to leave, leaving Angel sitting there in a daze. Even though her face was calm, the storm in her heart almost overwhelmed her. Paul then found Michael, advising him not to marry such a woman, but Michael was unwilling to talk more about it, saying that Angel was the soulmate he had been searching for years. He clearly didn't care about Angel's past occupation or her painful past. Michael talked about Angel's virtues, but Paul insisted that Angel was a terrible person and even insulted her. Michael angrily hit Paul. It was the first time Paul saw Michael lose his temper, and he was at a loss for a moment. After calming down, Michael calmly helped him up, saying he could offer some help. He hoped Paul would stop pursuing the illusory gold rush dream and instead do some stable work. Then Michael found Angel. He knew Paul's words had stabbed Angel's heart like a sharp knife. Michael hoped she wouldn't take those harsh words to heart, and he would always be by her side. Hearing this, an invisible pain seemed to tear at Angel's heart. After a night of thinking, Angel left the ring again and left the next morning. She ran out of the house and begged Paul to take her away. However, on the way, Paul actually asked Angel for fare, but Paul hinted that she could pay in other ways. When they were near the city gate, Paul, afraid of being seen walking with her by others, drove Angel off the carriage. Angel walked towards the town, thinking about the wages the tavern keeper had owed her, but when Angel arrived at the tavern, she found it had become a ruin. Another tavern keeper recognized Angel. He told Angel that the tavern had been burned down in a fire and invited her to work at his tavern. At this time, Angel had no money. After thinking for a moment, she agreed to the keeper's invitation. On the other side, Michael learned Angel's whereabouts from Paul and then went to the tavern to find her. He took Angel out of the room. The tavern keeper tried to stop Michael, but with his efforts, Michael successfully took Angel away. They walked home calmly. Finally, Angel broke the silence. Angel asked why he had come to find her. Michael said, "Because I love you." Even though Michael seemed calm on the surface, when the night grew dark and overwhelming loneliness attacked his pride, Michael sobbed alone in the study. Angel still saw Michael's most vulnerable side. She couldn't bear her painful past, so she desperately washed her body, trying to soothe the once filth and unworthiness. Fortunately, Michael appeared in time. With his patient comfort, Angel's emotions gradually calmed down. She lay quietly beside Michael, talking about the demons that had been pent up in her heart for a long time, and the cruel memories tormented not only Angel. At this moment, Michael also revealed the past buried deep in his heart, the nightmare left by his conservative and feudal father. Although the shadows of the past still lingered, this warm and happy rural life gave them the courage and hope to start over. Every inch of land, every ray of warm sunlight, silently healed their two broken hearts. One day, a family passed by, among whom was a pregnant woman about to give birth. They didn't hesitate to take her into their room. The family truly felt Michael and Angel's simplicity and kindness from the bottom of their hearts. The arrival of the baby seemed to add some warmth and color to this ordinary life. The glow of the bonfire and the melodious rural music in their ears were the most precious melodies on this farm, but fate always seemed to be full of jokes. One day, Angel accidentally saw how much Michael loved the arrival of this little life. Looking at Michael's smiling face, a nameless bitterness surged in Angel's heart, because after being sold to the Duke, she had accidentally gotten pregnant. But to keep Angel making money for him, the Duke cruelly had her child aborted, and due to the severe damage caused by the cruel procedure, Angel almost lost the ability to bear children again. In the wheat field full of hope, Angel told Michael this secret completely. Even though Michael was shocked by the news, he firmly told Angel his true feelings. "I love you, and nothing can change that." But the stronger Michael's love was, the more guilty Angel felt, which made it hard for her to bear. Even though she longed for this true love, Angel also knew she might never be able to give Michael true happiness in the real sense. And she also understood that the gentle and virtuous daughter next door deserved Michael's deep and selfless love. A difficult decision faintly took shape in her heart. When Michael returned home with a tired body, Angel was preparing a romantic dinner for him. Then Angel took Michael to the place of their first date. This place not only witnessed their deep emotions but also made Angel understand the meaning of survival. The setting sun slowly sank below the horizon. They sat quietly together, and every eye contact was like a blend of love and harmony. The next day, Angel silently wrapped the ring in a letter carefully. It contained all her reluctance and nostalgia for this emotional entanglement. And when the neighbor girl discovered this deep affection, Angel had already boarded a carriage heading to a distant land. She hoped the girl could continue to love Michael in her stead. But when the girl entered the room, Michael was surprisingly calm. The girl thought he should go after Angel, but Michael said Angel had her own freedom. At this time, Angel had already arrived in San Francisco, far from the farm. When she was dining in a restaurant, she saw the boss's simplicity and sincerity. His smile and enthusiasm made Angel can't help but feel a long-lost sense of belonging. So, she decided to stay in this strange land and become a cook in this restaurant. On the other side, Michael immersed all his thoughts in the farm work every day. Perhaps only in this way could he temporarily block the throbbing that ached faintly. The neighbor tried to persuade him to go after Angel, but Michael didn't care, unwilling to ring the bell of that attachment again. With Angel's hard work, the restaurant's business gradually got on track. But these good days were broken again. One day, the Duke's men saw Angel through the window crack, and that night, the restaurant was swallowed by a fire. The next morning, before Angel could pull herself out of the pain, the call of a nightmare broke the peace again. To take Angel away, the Duke threatened the restaurant owner's life. Helpless, Angel stepped onto the wrong path again. When the Duke took her into the room, the girl in front of her suddenly made Angel wake up like a dream. Cruel childhood memories flooded in like a tide, and her body seemed to be bound by heavy shackles, making her unable to break free or breathe. Then Angel was forced to come to the ballroom. Her heart beat faster, and beautiful childhood memories gradually entered her mind. She prayed silently, sincerely calling for some kind of power. Unwilling to sink into the past abyss again, she vaguely saw her mother's blurry figure, then walked onto the stage with firm eyes. Angel's appearance immediately caused a sensation in the whole audience. As the atmosphere gradually froze, she plucked up the courage to expose the Duke's crimes. The Duke likes little girls. He's now locking 2 little girls upstairs. I was bought by him when I was 8. I ran away when I was 17, but he found me and forced me to come back here. The Duke interrupted Angel, telling everyone it was a lie. Furious, the Duke stopped Angel from talking nonsense, then took her into the room, his eyes full of murderous intent. Fortunately, the detective appeared in time, subdued the Duke, and then signaled Angel to leave. She immediately opened the door of the cubicle, comforted the girls, and then took them away. With the support of all just people, the Duke received his due punishment. Time passed like a fleeting horse, and 2 years quickly went by. Paul, who was on a business trip to San Francisco, accidentally saw Angel on the road. He followed Angel's steps to a shelter, where Angel was working as a cook. Paul told her that Michael had been drowning in grief since she left, waiting for her return all the time. Moreover, because of his past misunderstandings and prejudices against Angel, Paul also hoped to get her forgiveness at this moment.
How could I not? With all the forgiveness that I've been given.
On this expectant afternoon, Michael was working hard in the field. Perhaps it was the step of fate. When he looked back, the deep affection buried in his heart jumped into his sight again. She walked towards him affectionately, bringing infinite possibilities in life.
I came to you to tell you that I love you. And I am so sorry.
2.5 years later, they went fishing with the neighbor's children. At this time, Angel was lucky enough to be pregnant with Michael's child. Perhaps true love is not flawless, but the determination to hold hands together after going through countless storms. Angel and Michael's story is indeed a spiritual redemption, a journey from darkness to light. Angel once thought she was unworthy of love, that she was destined to be alone, but it was that unwavering love that made her find hope and self-doubt and learn to forgive not only others, but also herself. I'm a movie enthusiast. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.